Okay, great. Okay, welcome to another episode of Hiring and Empowering Solutions podcast. My name is Molly McGrath, and I am the founder of this revolutionary podcast. If you're a first time listener, welcome. If you're a long time listener, welcome back. And as always, you can check us out at www.hiringandempowering.com. Okay, so I'm like beyond excited for today's guest. Hello, Hammad. How do I say your
Hey,
last name again?
Syed.
Syed. Okay, great. Oh my gosh, thank you. You just got out of court, just got home. It's 8 o'clock at night at your in Texas, and thank you so much for just like swooping in here
Of
and
course, no, it's an honor to be on your show today.
yeah. Oh gosh. So I'm gonna give a little backstory here. As you all know, we have a hiring and recruiting agency, and we are staffing for law firms, by and large, small solo law firms. We have been for the past 25 years, and so often, Hammad, you and I talked about this earlier. So often we hear from lawyers when we're looking for candidates. I want someone with experience. They have to have specific experience. They judge people by their resumes. And I was sharing this with you. We just placed you in a new firm, which we're really, really excited about. And the attorney is like over the moon. As soon as Mindy, my lead recruiter, met you, she's like, oh my God, I found the guy. I found the perfect guy. And our hiring process, we don't hire people from resumes. We want to talk to every available candidate out there, especially in the legal space, because it is so tight. It's so tight. And I know you know this, and you're going to be hiring a family law attorney for your replacement, and you're going to find this out very quickly. Like finding people with experience and finding people that attorneys and paralegals like that the space is so tight, especially in family law. And so we want to talk to everyone we possibly can because we never ever judge people by the resumes. Well, we find a rock star candidate such as yourself. We'll send the resumes over to the law firm that retained us to do the placement. And they'll be like, I'm not talking to this person. They don't have any experience. I have no time to train, which I hear over and over and over and over and over again, as you and I have talked about. I'm like, just so you know, like the translation of I have no time to train lands on a candidate, like I have no time for you. So you're going to be walking into a law firm where you get zero time, zero attention, zero feedback, whether they're experienced or not. They're human beings, not human doings. Like they need to be in a culture that is vibrant. They need to be in a culture where they get feedback, where they get communication, what have you. And when we found you, you had 2 years of family law experience. But when you and I were debriefing in regards to when we were making you an offer, I said to you, hey, tell me a little bit about your backstory. And I come to find out you had no family law experience when you were placed in your first law firm, correct?
Correct.
Tell us about, so you had an attorney that took a chance on you, hired you, you had no experience. Tell us a little bit about what it was like when you walked into that law firm.
Are you with respect to like for the interview or like when I first started?
Both. Let's start with the interview. Yeah.
Okay, so when I was applying after my last firm to get into a family law position, I started brushing up on learning Texas family code a little bit more in detail so I can go to the interview and know what I'm talking about. And when I went to the interview, I asked about, what kind of cases do you guys handle? Do you guys have a heavy family law volume? No, it's small to medium size. These more simple divorces. Sometimes we'll get some complex. And I basically not sold them, but explained to them to where, I will do what it takes to learn and get caught up and not require that babysitting supervision of, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. I need your help. It's more of a, I'll hit the ground running. I'll use whatever legal resources I can and just use whatever I can to, get to where I need to be. And 2 years later, like the firm had to end up hiring another attorney in the other department because I've grown the family practice so much that it's just so busy that it's just like I can't focus on immigration too much like she wanted me to because I'm so much involved in like the family side. And it's just it's beautiful seeing like a little creation of what a little self dedication does into it blossoms into something like amazing.
Oh, and so you get hired, you get in the law firm. Talk to us about your training process.
I don't know what training I got. It was more of a, hey, so what do we need to like help you out? And I said, well, the O'Connor's book I heard was really good, for family law attorneys, which has a lot of the Texas Family Code. So they got me that, and I just started diving into it, taking notes, highlighting, just basically like back into law school, just learning whatever I can through my readings. And then luckily, there's a lot of mentors out there that are willing to, help somebody out if they need help. And luckily, I know a lot of attorneys in Houston, where I'm from. And so I reached out to a few family law attorneys saying, hey, I'm not understanding these kind of situations, or I'm having this kind of case to deal with. Can I get some guidance? And they were phenomenal. So shout out to my mentors. But
Oh,
having the O'Connor's book definitely, and just doing a lot of the sit down, self study, research, and getting familiar with the situations and just going through it was what helped me get to where I am right now.
oh my goodness. So self-governing, you came in, you had no experience. So had that law firm passed up on the opportunity to hire you where you didn't meet all the criteria, so to speak, on paper for a batteries included family law attorney that needed no training or what have you. I mean, look at the opportunity they would have missed, in their competition would have benefit from if their hiring process was not all about the experience, but hiring from the human side. So you got in there, you're like, listen, I'll figure it out. I'll get the resources, what have you. And I think you told me too, correct me if I'm wrong, that there were like no systems or processes in place when you came in either, correct?
Correct, correct.
And so you had very little, it was baptismal by fire. And so now here you are 2 years later. Talk to us a little bit about, you were self-governing, you took on all your training on yourself. And then now what does the firm look like in regards to what you've done since you've been there?
So firm wise, it's definitely grown, not just like revenue wise, but like staff wise, because we're having a lot more case volume. But as far as like the complexity of the type of cases we're taking on now with the family law, like, extreme child support, or like child custody battles for like, domestic violence situations, and just things that you typically don't hear every day, we're able to handle those kind of cases now because I've gotten myself familiar with it. I've gotten the opportunity to learn how to handle with certain situations, to where we're getting like just all kinds of family law cases. Just I think every day through our door, we're having a new situation coming and saying, "Oh my God!" And I'm so excited that I'm like, I've never done this. I'm ready to get the round running and help you out.
Yeah. So I 2 years, in 2 years, you have accomplished that. And you went from basic family law. So now I hear not even have we grown revenue wise, we've grown staff wise in the size of our practice, but also the complexity that we now can take on in regards to these cases are coming through our door,
Right,
right?
right. It's not where I can say I've done every kind of case. There's still stuff out there I don't know. I'm still in my third year of practice, but I think like a good control of what family law is, handling like a simple divorce, complex divorce, I'm able to be confident and say, you know what, I can definitely take these cases, and if there's something I don't know, I have all the tools around me to learn what it takes to get it done.
Yeah, higher confidence, higher batteries included, higher self-governing. And I love that you're like, this is fun. I'm going to figure it out and I'll dive in because you have that confidence and you're resourceful, is what I'm hearing. I want you to share with our listeners, like you said, going on third year. And before we started recording today, talk to us a little bit. This is what's so cool. I know 10-year associates that would crumble if their day occurred like yours did today, if their day started out like yours did today. 10-year, 15, 20-year experienced senior level associate attorneys, they would have lost it if their day would have looked anything like yours did today. Paint the picture so we can really communicate to our listeners about it's total BS that people need to have like this chock full experience resume, because if they're rigid and they're arrogant and they're unwavering and they're stuck in how they think their day is going to look like, they're not resourceful, they're not flexible, and they don't have the confidence and they don't have the client's best interest at heart, it doesn't mean a hill of beans. But paint your day, how your day started today.
Sure.
I was just amazed when you shared this story with me.
So I had a really big complex mediation scheduled for 1 o'clock today that we've been for the last 2 3 days. Just like I was telling you, just going back and forth with my client. lots of property included, no kids, but just I've never dealt with so much property in my life in a divorce. And so the last 2 3 days were just heavy, rigid, rigid, back and forth with my client. Come to the office this morning, get a call from the attorney at 8:30 saying, "Hey, I had an 8 o'clock trial set with Judge so and so in Tarrant County. Judge has pushed it back till 1 o'clock, and I've told him I have a mediation, and the judge is like, you need to go get that rescheduled because I'm not changing my trial date." And so I panicked and called my client. I'm like, "Hey, I know we had cleared the schedule for everything today, and this is what's going on. I'm not mad at the attorney. This is not his fault. It's the judge, obviously, who has the full command of what they want to do. Can we please try to get this rescheduled?" So she was like, "Go ahead." Call the mediator. He's like, "I don't have anything till December," because he gets booked for like months. And he was like, "You know what? I just had a cancellation this morning for next Thursday afternoon." And so I was like, "Hold on, let me get on the phone with my client." Called my client, and she was like, "Take it." Called him back, and I was like, "Hey, we'll take this spot." And it shot my whole day. Not gonna lie about it, but I always like to see positive situations out of something negative, because it opened up my day to where I can get a head start on like other deadlines and other things that I was like, I'm not gonna be able to get to today. So I got to still have a productive day, and we're still set, and we're still ready to fight for this mediation, for this divorce that we have now for next Thursday.
Oh my goodness. Bravo, bravo. I mean, right there, listeners, that is a perfect example of why you need to stop judging people by their resumes. You're passing up, like any attorney, I don't care what area of law that you practice in, to hear a third-year attorney explain how they were able to juke, jive, be flexible, and meet all the deadlines and the goals of the client, work with opposing counsel, work with mediators, what have you. And even though, yeah, not going to lie, it was stressful. It wasn't what I anticipated, wasn't what I planned on, but I made it happen. So,
Right.
what advice would you give to our attorneys, to our law firm owners, in regards to their hiring process and passing up on candidates simply because of paper and their resume, that they don't, fit into this perfect expectation of years of experience?
So I definitely do agree partially that, of course, experience does matter, but the biggest thing, like in my situation, was that if you find a candidate who's willing to put in the work, stay till 2 3 o'clock at night working on a case, and make that, nonstop exhaustive effort to say, you know what, I'm gonna do what I promise I'm gonna do, and he can show you that he or she can make that effort, then don't turn your head on the candidate because they don't have the experience. It's hard to find somebody, especially in this profession. And I'm only 3 years in, so I can't say this too confidently. But it's hard to find somebody who's so passionate that they're willing to, screw the work-life balance. You know what? I want to be good at what I'm doing, and I'm gonna put in the time and effort to do it. And if you can find a candidate that definitely has that enthusiasm to do it, take a chance on them, and I can guarantee you 9 out of 10 times you won't regret it.
No, you're a perfect example of that. What are some things that you would think of, because you interview beautifully, but what are you think some maybe traits or questions or statements that the attorney would pick up on, that the person's willing to screw the work-life balance or willing to put the effort in? Just thinking of yourself, what are some attributes that they should be listening for in the interviewing and hiring process?
So definitely enthusiasm in making a difference and showing that, hey, I don't want to just see this as a paycheck, but I want to see this as a, can I make a difference in somebody's life that truly needs my help? And that's the biggest thing that you can look for, is that if somebody has that character of wanting to make a difference as an attorney, that's somebody who's gonna put in the extra time, the extra mile, in order to, what, I need to get this done. I need to stay here and do whatever it takes to get the job done. So enthusiasm is the biggest thing, and somebody who's not too focused on just the standard work life, but more of the, how can I be of an assistance to somebody and make that difference for them.
Yeah. And another thing that I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit for is that they're like, don't worry, I'll figure it out. I'm resourceful. I hear this is the best booking. our state that I should be going to. I know plenty of mentors. I'm going to reach out to them. So really that resourcefulness and coming into the interview and communicating that I don't worry about me. I'll figure it out. I do need feedback. I do need some, I need that human interaction, but otherwise my goal is to protect your time and protect your back as an entrepreneur, because that's why you're looking to hire.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well put.
Thank you. So, one closing statement I would say that I just thought of in regards to what, if you were to give advice to attorneys in regards to when you are hiring and you bring on a new attorney or any new employee, what kind of magic bullets would you give to them to make a new employee feel welcomed and excited, and to set them up for success and right from the out of the gate?
So definitely be understanding that they're a new attorney, and remember that their first experience is going to make or break the profession for them. They've spent like hundreds of thousands of dollars of going to law school and countless amount of sacrifices to get to where they are. Keep that in mind that, if they come in, they're not as knowledgeable or experienced as like a 15, 20-year, 30-year attorney. There's a reason for it. It all takes time. I even catch myself comparing myself to like my boss who's 20 years in the game. And I'm like, I get frustrated because I'm like, she catches things or I miss things that typically would come with experience. So having patience is the biggest thing, and learning how to communicate, because communication, especially with a new associate, is a big way to set them up for success, and understanding that, hey, this guy's new, this girl's new. Let's give them the tools and resources to help them grow and make them want to be a better attorney.
Mm. Oh, wow. You got to give yourself a little bit of grace there, buddy, because I coach and consult law firms across the country, have for 25 years. And I mean, just even today, I probably have 5 coaching calls, and it's attorneys show up. They're like, this is like a 10, 15-year paralegal or associate attorney, what have you. And they're constantly finding mistakes. They're constantly finding like, I would have approached this a little bit differently. Or it's so give yourself a little bit of grace. And while it is a little bit about experience in regards to how you would go about things and things of that nature, but it's human nature as well. It occurs even with the most senior associates that I
Right.
see.
Yeah, as long as you're attentive to detail and show that you're making the effort to do a good job, as opposed to not caring, that there was a mistake made and you didn't do anything to, fix it, then that's an issue right there. But if you're willing to show that I'm not going to make too many mistakes and I'm going to do what it takes to, learn from my mistake and not make those mistakes happen, then that's a good candidate, because you want to find somebody who's caring about the job, because if you don't, the job's not going to get done well.
Right. And give them the coaching, not criticism, in when you're reviewing documents as well, right? Have the time,
Right.
sit down with them and use it as an opportunity from a coaching perspective, just as much as pointing out the legalese and strategies and what have you, but giving that kind of like the human essence of it, of how they would have gone about it, and giving that kind of showing the math and the critical thinking around it.
Right. Because at the end of the day, it's an investment in the employee you're hiring. If you invest and put in time for this employee, 30 minutes or an hour once a week is not gonna, ruin your, entire week. You're investing time into it. You invest time into it, you're gonna get a better return, as opposed to not investing time into it and then getting a terrible return.
Yeah. Wow. Well said. That it's absolutely true. And that's so often is what we hear when we are interviewing candidates. I mean, you're in a very unique situation. You have a move. So, it's not that you're unhappy. You really love where you work. You have so much respect. You're like, I'm going to give them 2 months, because 2 months notice, because I don't ever want to leave them in a lurch. I'm getting married. My fiance is moving. We're moving, to Houston from where you are now. And it's just it says so much about your integrity as well. The one thing that I would just really, really, really highlight for our attorneys that are hiring is that they're human beings. You have to give them time, attention, and feedback. And to your point, all you're asking for is an hour. a week, like dedicated. Can I have your full undivided attention so we can work through this? And so often when Mindy and Christine and Rachel and I are interviewing people, we hear like, why are you leaving? Why are you leaving? You're working for a phenomenal firm. We know this firm, what have you. And that's what they hear. They're like, I'm disconnected from the heartbeat of the business. I want to talk to my attorney, my managing attorney, the founder. I really want to pick their brain. I want to have insight. I just want feedback from them. I want time and attention. All I'm asking for is an hour. And when I sit down with them, I'm treated like I'm a nuisance or I'm a bother.
Right.
Yeah. And that's not, so that's for you attorneys. Just really kind of do that mind shift and really kind of ground yourself in regards to that hour. Like you said, Hammad, is the greatest investment. It's not robbing your time. It's not a nuisance. It's not a frustration. It's an investment, regardless of what position you're hiring for in your firm.
Right. Well said.
Yeah. All right, Hammad, I know it's late. I know you had a crazy day today. Thank you so much for being our guest today.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, so guys, listen up. Stop hiring people from their resume. Hire from the human side of things and give people a chance. Get on a Zoom with them. Talk to them for 10, 15 minutes. And you could be missing on your next Hammad if you don't shift and do this.
That was nice. I like that.
Okay, great. So this has been another episode of Hiring and Empowering Solution. Until next time. Okay, we are done.